Hello and welcome to episode 57 of the Youth Intake Challenge with Dulwich Hamlet. We're in the Premier League now. Money's been a little bit better to come by, however, points are proving to be quite difficult. Stick around and I'll update you where we are. And straight into competitions. First thing to look at is Premier League. We are out of the relegation zone. It's quite tight down the bottom. We've got 13 points from 15 games. I'll show you how we got them in a minute through the schedule. We're out the relegation zone. Cardiff are still on their 5-point deduction, so they're only sat on 6 points, or else it'd be a lot closer. Ultimately, we need to pick up some more points, and there's some squad problems that are going to prevent us doing that maybe as nicely as we would like to. However, there's a couple of teams below us. A few results might see us pull away a little bit, up to kind of 12th, 13th, but there's some big teams just in and around us as well. Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, all kind of fighting with us against relegation, which is a bit bizarre. FA Cup wise, we've drawn Brighton in the third round. Tough game against another Premier League team. And Carabao Cup, we got knocked out by Cardiff in the second round, which was, I suppose, a blessing in disguise in some respects, because it's always difficult to get points in your first season when you just come up, and it's a distraction more than anything else. In terms of development of players, etc., I mean, we've got two that are ready to come into the first team. Eric Lynch, who I'm not going to, because I'm looking to move him on. I don't think he's good enough to feature really, and there's better players with high potential should be getting the exposure ahead of him. And Johnson Salami, which is another goalkeeper, I'm not quite sure what to do with him at the minute. We'll have to let someone go. I'll have to compare which goalkeepers are the best in terms of potential thresholds, and just hold on to the best three maybe. So the first team are two high potential players, so that's where we are with that. In terms of players out on loan, quite a few still out there. No one setting the world on fire, but again they're developing quite nicely. You can see there's a few players creeping up. So Robbie Harris and James Healy, the best of the bunch at the minute, creeping up to 2.5 star. Yeah, they'll probably come back and feature. James Healy probably more so. We're limited in whether we can play two up top at the minute, because we've not got a good pool of strikers to rotate. But with Healy, Ward and White all having quite a good potential threshold, once they come back, if they've improved enough to get into the first team, we can maybe consider going back to two up top. Under 18s wise, not really anything in there, and we'll do the youth candidates for the intake preview at the end. In terms of finances, as I said, money's easier to come by, so we've got 15 million in the bank. The projection as well looks pretty good, up to 67 million by the end of the 24-25. End of this season, we're probably looking at 29 million, which is fantastic, because it's enabling us to do some of the facilities. So looking at the club vision, and what I find bizarre about all this is all our stuff about developing players disappeared. It's not there anymore. It's all just about contracts, a little bit about stadium expansion, which is underway, but mostly it's just about contracts and staying in the Premier League, which is okay. We're not defensively solid because we're leaking goals all over the place. We'll try and correct that. I don't know if playing full on defensive is going to be the answer, but we might have to as we move forward. Looking at the club vision and the board, what we've got approved already is, after many attempts, they've finally gone for the training facilities and the youth facilities, 4 and 5 months respectively. I did think there was an affiliate on there. I'd asked multiple times to get a foreign affiliate. I don't know if it's still, in fact I can't even do it, so whether that's still in the pipeline, but we're trying to get a foreign affiliate to generate some more funding for the club, etc., and raise the exposure within the European scene. That's not happened yet. It might still be in the pipeline. We'll see as we move forward. But certainly the facility improvements are going to be huge as we move forward. Into the schedule then, it doesn't look pretty. I mean, you'd seen us get beat at Crystal Palace in a game we dominated but fell to a 1-0 defeat. Really frustrating because we lost in the 85th minute. What's more frustrating is we played West Ham, we took the lead, and then we ended up losing in the 88th minute again, despite playing against 10 men, which massively frustrating, but sometimes that's the rub of the green you get. We did manage to get our room back, so we got a last minute kind of second goal, which ended up being the winner because they got another last minute goal, and we're kind of weak towards the end of the game at the minute, which is very bizarre. But we managed to pick up 3 points against Brighton, which is huge because they're down near the bottom with us. Cardiff, we went out on penalties. You can't really do much about that. Southampton, we picked up a draw, and at this point just grinding out a couple points here and there is what we were going for, to try and get a little bit of momentum. So we drew with Southampton, drew with Brentford, narrow defeat to Aston Villa, again, late goals. This time the opposite way around. They went 2-0 up before we got one. 0-0 with Cardiff. I mean, huge result. 1-1 with Man City. I think that's a fantastic result. Obviously, they're not in the same position they were when you start the game, but picking up a point against Man City, you can't sneeze at that. Wolves, we were doing really well. We were winning up until the 85th minute, and then they scored 3 goals, which makes it look a lot worse than it is. But we were very close to holding on for that game. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get another point. Arsenal, another one where we picked up an unlikely point. However, again, we were 3-1 up, and we managed to come back to 3-3. It could have been worse, but again, another valuable point. Liverpool looked like we might have scraped a point, but we got beat 1-0. Fulham, another point scraped. We came back in that game to equalise at 2-2. Man United, we took an early lead. Man United, they equalised quite early, but we held on for the rest of the game to get a 1-1. We picked up our second win of the season at West Brom, and we managed to keep a nice clean sheet there, which is good. So we're 2-0 home win against West Brom, got us another 3 points, and then just before now, Tottenham beat us 3-0 quite convincingly. We held on for a huge portion of the game, but once they got in their groove, there wasn't much we could do to really stop them. So that's kind of where our points have come from. In terms of dynamics, we're not too bad. We're all good. Everyone seems to be happy. We've renewed a huge number of contracts, which I'll show you in the squad screen. Staff-wise, just about everybody's in there. We're just missing one scout, and the scouting team's looking quite healthy across all the levels. So, again, quite promising. Squad-wise, nothing good in terms of average ratings. What I would say is we've tried to get on top of the contracts, so nobody's expiring next year. We've got 4 players coming into the year after that, which we'll probably look at reviewing if they've got high potential. Stick them on a slightly longer contract, so Beckter, Slipman, Zhang Chun, Brustad. We might keep all of them. Brustad's developed quite well. But we might see what comes through the next youth intake before we make that decision, just so we've got spaces in the squad as we move forward. Everyone else is looking like they've got quite a good potential threshold. A couple kind of fading out, like Tony Dunk, Adi McAvoy, but Adi McAvoy's still a really handy player. In terms of tactics, we've had to drop away from the 2. A lot of that was to do with injuries. As you can see down the bottom, we'll talk about that in a minute, our best player is out. But Tony Dunk had picked up an injury. We went to just a kind of attacking midfielder behind, just to kind of give us a bit more defensive sound, a bit more play in the middle of the park. But that's limited is kind of in our goal scoring ability. However, Arnold Roldan's developed slightly further, and he's now a really good player to play in that position. So playing balanced and cautious, blend between the 2 if we think we need to try and go and steal some points. But for the most part, we stay on a cautious mentality, one up top, and just try and keep it relatively tight in the back. At some point, we're going to have to start getting a bit more aggressive if we need to get more points, but that's where we currently sit. Squad plan has not really changed, so again, we're looking quite comfortable across the board in all positions. If I was going to say positions that we really need more of, possibly centre-back, because Onyango's not a centre-back, so we're down to 4 in that position. As always, full-back's probably a left-back would be great. Midfield, we're looking quite good. If we're going to stick advanced midfielder, maybe one of them. Definitely a right winger, because Silverio's out there on his own. We're quite strong on the left, and maybe a striker just to increase the striker pool. However, that's not a definite, because we have got some players out on loan who could come back in and do a job. That being said, the final thing to look at then is the intake preview, of which is looking pretty good, an excellent intake. We've got A's for goalkeeper, centre-back and strikers. I know you're going to say we don't need another goalkeeper. However, we seem to get a great goalkeeper every time, and that's even with changing the youth intake staff member. So the head of youth development's been changed. It's not changed who we're coming in. We're still getting great goalkeepers. A couple good centre-backs could be useful. As I said, we need to build them up a little bit, and maybe a striker, but not looking too bad. Better than some in the previous in terms of a preview. However, we know this doesn't largely match what comes through. So hopefully that's given you a good update of where we are. We're not quite halfway through the season. If I just get to the league table, we're still not particularly fancied with a preview of 1,000 to 1. But we just need to get a few more points. I think 35 might be a good thing to aim for. So we need another 22 points from 23 games. So a point per game might be enough to save us. That's what we'll aim for. But I'll carry on clicking through. I'll get us towards the end of the season to see if we manage to survive or not. It's a lot. It's very tough. It's tough to grind out points. We've only had 2 wins all season. Most of the teams around us have got more than that. The only ones who haven't are Brentford and Cardiff. So we're going to have to pick up a few more if we're going to strengthen our position. And we're going to have to do that without Soggy for a while, because he's dislocated his shoulder and he's out for 4 weeks to 2 months. So that's probably 8 games without him, which is going to be particularly difficult considering he's our far and away our best player. I've had no bids for him. He does have a release clause. I'm praying it doesn't come in the summer. But until next time, enjoy yourselves, enjoy football. I'll get through the season. The next one should be out in a couple of days, and I'll see you soon. Take care.